So this just in, music has an AI problem. We've known this for quite some time now, and I don't want to talk about problem in the context of it being something negative, but it definitely is something that we need to address. Not a lot of people are talking about this, and the fact that over the last couple of years, technology has begun to improve immensely, almost to the point where people can create their own songs based off of other humans without human involvement, basically just with a computer, and it's kind of mind-boggling to think about. I am Midnight Strike 3625, and today we are going to be talking about AI in music. As the title of this video suggests, music does have an AI problem, but like I said, we're not going to talk about it in the context of it being negative, because it definitely is a problem, but it also has its merits and its upsides. And let me tell you, it revolutionized the way that I look at music, and definitely has some nuanced discussion in there as well, such as the ethics, I should say, of creating such a cover of a band or using someone's voice without their permission. Is it grounds for copyright strikes on YouTube? Is it grounds for termination? Well, let's get into it. So, basically, my journey with AI music began in 2021, a couple years ago, with the app uberduck.ai, a website, if you will, where it is a text-to-speech app where you type in anything and you can read it back in, say, Ben Shapiro's voice, Ratchet and Clank, Solid Snake, video game characters, politicians, but there was also musicians. One such musician was James Hetfield, but James Hetfield's Master of Puppets singing voice. So, say, type in the lyrics to Number the Beast, and you can make a pretty damn good cover. Now, this text-to-speech app wasn't perfect, and you had to layer the text and type it out and space it out with commas and the like, with punctuation, to the point where it wouldn't stutter and trip over certain words. But as technology began to improve, things got really frickin' strange. Because now you have covers of Alice in Chains songs with Lane Staley, the original vocalist, singing William Duvall's lines, who famously recorded, say, Black Gives Way to Blue, The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here, and Rainier Fog, respectively, after Lane Staley died. So to hear something like So Far Under and Check My Brain, and of course Your Decision, originally sung by William Duvall and Jerry Cantrell, sung by Lane Staley, is something out of a dream, basically. And these covers are actually pretty damn good. So, as far as the nuance is concerned, with deceased musicians, I really personally don't see a problem with putting their vocals on certain melodies as long as it complements them. But when you get into, say, if you have Lane Staley or Kurt Cobain sing something that he is not necessarily well suited for, or something that he himself would have objected to in his life, then it might have a bit of a backside. It might have a bit of a problem. So basically, where the nuance comes in is judging whether or not you should use someone's voice, or whether or not we even have the right to put someone's vocals or melodies, if you will, to a track. So I bring this up as a counterpoint to what I said, where it can be used to boost things beyond our wildest imagination. Do you want to listen to Plankton from SpongeBob singing War Pigs? Well, it was on YouTube at one point before it was taken down via copyright strike. And in the beginning, or at least in the middle part, because as I said in the beginning was uberduck.ai, at least in my experience, but earlier this year, covers started popping up of different metal songs sung by cartoon characters, by Lane Staley, Chester Bennington singing The Devil and I, stuff like that, anything you want to search for. 1980s James Hetfield singing Death Magnetic, which is one of my personal favorites. These started cropping up everywhere, sprouting like wildflowers, and all anyone can either talk about is it good? Is it bad? And not much about the ethics of it. Should we be doing this? Well, the industry, especially the music industry, and in a way the film industry has already been talking about this, but the music industry really needs to catch up and decide what they want to do about this. Are they going to embrace the future of AI and use it to improve their songwriting, their production value, maybe other things as far as vocals go. Not necessarily pitch correction because we already have that, but are they going to embrace the future of AI, or are they going to try and shut it down like they did with Napster? Didn't exactly work so well back then, so we will find out the answer to that. So basically, what I'm trying to say is it is definitely a problem for certain parties as far as the AI goes, but for me, just sitting in my living room here on my couch listening to some awesome covers, I really like it. But at the same time, I've seen a few that kind of made me think that I don't know if the original artist would be okay with this. I mentioned Lane Staley and Chester Bennington being deceased, so we have no idea what they would think about this brave new world of a future that we have here, where none of us could have even imagined that we would be here. So we don't really know what they would think, or if they would be okay with us using their voice for our own wills and means. So basically, there was a couple videos that I want to pinpoint for my thoughts on this. So the first one being James Hetfield in 1991, so his Black Album style voice, singing the song Complicated by Avril Lavigne. And of course, Chad Kroeger and James Hetfield from 2008 singing How You Remind Me. Now, these two songs sound pretty good in my opinion. I dug it. Basically, what they do is they take the original voice and plop it on top of the melody from the studio track. So these two were hit with copyright strikes right away, right out the gate, basically, after about a week of being on online. But basically, where the gray area and the nuance comes in is I don't know if James or Chad would be okay with people using their voice and putting it to basically whatever the fuck they want, to be honest with you. And since those guys are still alive and kicking, do they not own their own voice anymore? I mean, I personally wouldn't like if somebody used my voice and put it to something that I didn't say, because they can do it for talking and speech as well as vocals. And I don't know how I feel about that. But then you also have things, like I said, that you would not have been able to imagine even a year ago, because now they are actually taking samples from guitar riffs as well as melodies, production, amp settings, and stuff like that, and making songs in the style of previous albums for Metallica. And I know I focus a lot on Metallica, but we haven't exactly had a lot of other bands being covered as prolifically as Metallica in the AI scene. And that's basically because every single album, pretty much up until Death Magnetic, has a unique production to it, and it sounds different. Everything sounds completely different as far as that goes. I mean, you listen to Kill 'Em All, any song on Kill 'Em All, you can instantly tell it's from Kill 'Em All. You listen to Ride the Lightning, same thing. Master of Puppets has more bass and a louder drum sound than And Justice for All, which obviously we know what happened with Justice for Jason and the clicking sound of the drums, but it's just interesting all the different technicalities that you can do with AI, because now you can do even the instrument sections. So basically, copyright system thought they could kill the AI by striking down all of the melodies with the original studio tracks, but AI evolved, and now we have totally different tracks. Can you call it fair use? Because now we have completely different melodies or completely different productions playing the same melody as the original, but completely different style. So, in my opinion, that kind of treads the line of fair use, because you can't exactly make it about copyright when it's not the exact same thing, such as was the case with the Complicated song by Avril Lavigne, covered by James Hetfield, which never happened, but somebody made it happen. So, again, does James own his voice? That's another question. So, the reason why that was copyright struck right off the bat was because it was the original studio track. But if it's not the original studio track, is it a cover? Even though a normal person or a human did not make that, AI did. So, as I touched earlier, Is the future AI? Because we can do a lot of wonderful things with it. Or is it a dark future where everybody's rights are going to be trampled upon and nobody owns their own voice anymore or their own creativity? Because we've already been talking about AI in filmmaking and acting with the Writers Guild strike. That's basically what the majority of it has been about, is replacing actual people with AI. And I understand the frustration there, but when in music it's something completely different entirely. There's a cover out there of No Leaf Clover without the symphony as if it sounded on the Black Album, and it sounds phenomenal. It sounds perfect. So, will will the music industry use this as a stepping stone to improve the craft? Or should I say, will the bands themselves use this to push their music to the next level? Some people might say that's fakery. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of treading that line. I guess I would be okay with using AI as a means of songwriting, of crafting different melodies and lyrics, and giving new life to things that may or may not have already been stagnated. James Hetfield had the famous, or infamous, I should say, breakdown in 2022 where he felt like he was too old, he couldn't play anymore, he was self-conscious, and he basically just broke down and had a panic attack on stage. And of course, his band members were there for him, propped him up, gave him a hug, and it was one of the most heartwarming things I had ever seen. Now, AI could maybe help build some confidence in band members like James Hetfield, who maybe feel like they don't have it anymore necessarily and just need a little bit of a boost without, of course, taking full on advantage of it and using it to as a crutch, basically. So that's all I'm trying to say, is it can be used to maybe help and aid bands without necessarily them relying on it completely. But we are in for a wild ride with some of the covers that are on. I'm going to try and make a video with my top 10 covers for AI out hopefully in the next week or so. This is pretty much all I have for this video. I am obviously looking for different spots to record my content. This is all I got for now. This is my living room and my laptop that I'm using to record instead of my phone so I don't have to hold it up all over. So, let me know what you guys think. More content is to come. I am Midnight Strike 3625. Great to be back. Keep calm and rock on.